guys, welcome back. My name's Nathan, and today I'm going to be doing my 2020 NHL Draft Preseason Prospect Rankings. The 2020 NHL Draft is one of the best drafts in a very long time, and since NHL Preseason is right around the corner, I felt this was the best time to release my updated preseason rankings. So when it comes to the 2020 NHL Draft, what does my top 15 look like, and who do I see as the best prospects in the 2020 Draft right now? Watch till the end to find out. When it comes to the best drafts in NHL history, the 2003 draft is highly regarded as the best draft of all time. There's been a couple of good drafts since then, most notably drafts like the 2015 draft, which were spectacular. But this 2020 NHL draft might have the best chance at rivaling that 2003 draft as the best draft of all time. It's looking that good, and assembling my top 15 was way harder than it should have been. There's that much talent going into the first round, even the rest of the draft this next season. And you can see that fantastic talent from top to bottom of my rankings, and from 1 to 15, there is so much talent to choose from. But going into my top 15, and for my 15th best 2020 prospect, I have Connor Zary. Center at age 17, 6 foot, 174 pounds. Connor Zary had a fantastic season last year, especially for the situation he was put in. On a pretty bad Kamloops team, he was very good offensively. And on Team Canada and the U18 World Juniors, he was absolutely fantastic. He is a late birthday, so again, he is a very old prospect in the draft, but still very talented and very good. And moving on to my 14th best 2020 prospect, I have Jan Mysak. He's a left winger, age 17, 6 foot, 176 pounds, from the Czech Republic. Mysak was one of those guys when I was starting to research 2020 prospects back a year ago that I had no idea who this guy was. He was mentioned in some forums and stuff, and I saw people talking about him, but I'm like, who the heck is this guy? But he's actually pretty good. Now, he's in, of course, the Czech Republic, playing in the Czech leagues. He's made some big progress and has played well in the World Juniors for Czech Republic so far. When it comes to Mysak, he has serious skill, and again, I think can challenge the top 15 by the end of the year. Now, going into my 13th best prospect for the 2020 draft, I have Tim Stützle. Forward at age 17, 5 foot 11, 165 pounds. Being a German-born prospect, obviously there's been some comparisons to Leon Drysdale, but he's definitely the best forward prospect since Leon Drysdale German-wise. He'll play with Adler Mannheim next season, the same team that, of course, Moritz Seider played on, so there's a good track record there. But Stützle has amazing talent, amazing skill, and to me is one of the best in the 2020 draft. Now, moving on to my 12th best prospect in the 2020 draft, I have Dylan Holloway. Forward at age 17, 6 foot, 192 pounds, Canadian forward as well. When it comes to Holloway, he was one of the players that was just a few days short from qualifying from the 2019 NHL draft. And Holloway is a solid prospect, but is one of the better ones in 2020. Now, he played in the AJHL last season and had a terrific year offensively. But this next season is committed to the University of Wisconsin, playing with guys like Alex Turcotte and Cole Caulfield will definitely rise his stats quite a bit. But while he is an older prospect, he still has a ton of talent, and to me is one of the top prospects in the class. Now, going on to my 11th best prospect in the 2020 NHL draft, I have the only goaltender in my top 15, that being Yaroslav Askarov. Goaltender, age 17, 6 foot 3, 163 pounds, Russian-born goaltender. When it comes to Askarov, initially when again I started to research the 2020 draft, I wasn't totally on board when it came to Askarov hype train, but it's changing in the past few months. As Askarov dominated the World Juniors, as he was just brilliant in all categories, I really started to notice him a lot more, and as I watched him more, it's evident that he's a brilliant, sound, and very smart goaltender, with a lot of skill too. When it comes to Russian-born goalies, there are some good ones in the NHL, guys like Sergei Bobrovsky, but Askarov might be the best goalie prospect since a guy like Andrei Vasilevsky, which is obviously high praise for a prospect that good. And we're getting into the top 10 of my rankings, and starting out in the top 10 with number 10, I have Hendrix Lapierre. Center, age 17, a Canadian-born prospect, 5'11", 172 pounds. Lapierre had a solid season in the QMJHL, but as I was watching some of the highlights for the Linka Gretzky Cup, it just really showed how solid of a player he is. Offensively, he's really been getting it done the past year, so I don't really have too much doubt there. And overall, I think there is improvements to be made. But this next QMJHL season will be a big one for him. He's not a huge player by any means, but his skill more than makes up for it. Now going into my 9th overall pick, and for the only defenseman in my top 15, I have Jamie Drysdale. Defenseman, age 17, Canadian-born defenseman. He's 5'11", 165 pounds. Drysdale is kind of somewhat in the same situation as Bowen Byram was last year. I don't think Drysdale is as good, but they're both Canadian defensemen. They're both the best defensemen in the class, and I think the gap is the same between them too. There's some decent defensemen still in the 2020 draft, but Jamie Drysdale is pretty much the highlight of the group. And to me, I don't think there'll be much competition there. Now going into my 8th best prospect for the 2020 NHL draft, I have Noel Gunler. Right winger / left winger, age 17, 6'1", 176 pounds, a Swedish stud. Noel Gunler is one of my favorite prospects in this draft, and to me, still one of the best prospects in this draft. Now, Noel Gunler has kind of weirdly been shunned by the national Swedish team. There's been multiple events that he has been invited to, somehow, some way. Even though I think he's one of the top prospects in the draft, Team Sweden obviously doesn't think that. So there is some red flags when it comes to Noel Gunler, but watching him and looking at his stats and just experiencing him, I don't get why. He's a fantastic prospect, has great offensive output, and to me, will still be a top 15 pick by the end of the year. Now going into my number 7 best prospect for the 2020 NHL draft, I have Marco Rossi. Center, age 17, 5'9", 179 pounds. He's from freaking Austria. What's not to love? And Marco Rossi really caught my attention this past year. Before that, I really didn't know him too much, but as the year went on, I start to really like him. Yes, because he's Austrian, and we never see that. That's one of the main reasons, but he's also a freaking awesome hockey player. At 5'9", he's just a likable guy, has so much talent too. While he was on the great Ottawa 67s, I think he was a great reason why that team was so fantastic, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. Now going into my 6th best prospect for the 2020 draft, I have Cole Perfetti. Center, age 17, 5'10", 185 pounds, Canadian-born prospect. I like to nickname him Cole Perfetti because he's about as perfect as you could possibly get. Last year in the OHL was just insanely awesome. As I was keeping track of the OHL points for the 2019 draft, I kept noticing Cole Perfetti and how amazing he was. Just scored goals left and right, like he didn't even care. Perfetti should have another fantastic season next year, and again, I think he'll be great offensively. Had another great Hlinka Gretzky Cup, and right now I think is primed for a potential top 6 pick. He might not go that high by the end of the year, but offensively, I think he's more than worth it right now. We're getting into the top 5, the elites of the elite in the 2020 draft, and we're going to continue with prospects that I love quite a bit. Now going to number 5, and Alexander Holtz. Right winger / left winger, age 17, 6', 183 pounds, Swedish-born stud. Alexander Holtz has been one of my favorite prospects in this draft, pretty much as long as I've known the prospects. It's basically going back 2 years ago, and basically knowing only Lafreniere, Byfield, Holtz, and maybe even Raymond too. But when it comes to Holtz, I've liked him for a while, but it was kind of a slow progression because he's done a lot of great things over the past couple of years, and it's just been groundbreaking too. Offensively, he's proved himself as an elite talent, and again, he is just so fun to watch, and will be that at the NHL level pretty soon. Now getting into my 4th best prospect in the 2020 draft, I have Lucas Raymond. Right winger / left winger, age 17. He, of course, is a Swedish-born stud, just like Holtz. 5'10", 165 pounds. The gap between Holtz and Raymond is not too huge. I think it's a lot shorter than a lot of people give it credit for. I think both prospects are fantastic in their own ways, and are just both brilliant too, offensively. When it comes to Raymond, he, back in the U18 World Juniors, scored a hat trick in the gold medal game, which doesn't happen too often, by the way. He has played in the Champions League for the past week or so, and has done fantastic too, scoring a couple of goals in his last game. So when it comes to Raymond, the offense is definitely there, and overall still is one of the best prospects for this upcoming draft. Now getting into my top 3 for the 2020 draft, and into my 3rd best prospect, and my favorite prospect, that being Anton Lundell. Center / left winger, age 17. He's a fantastic Finnish-born player as well. 6'1", 183 pounds. Anton Lundell, while he is an older prospect, has accomplished so much already. In the league last year, was brilliant points-wise, and was way better than he needed to be too. In the World Juniors at the U20 level, was just absolute absolutely disgusting. And I think when it comes to Lundell, he could potentially challenge for not just that second overall spot, but maybe even a little bit for that first overall position. It does seem crazy, it does seem out there, but Lundell has already done so much and is gifted offensively that I think it could potentially happen. Getting into my second overall position, and for my second best prospect in the 2020 draft, I have Quinton Byfield. Center, age 17, Canadian-born prospect, 6'4", 214 pounds, as a 16-year-old. And you guessed it, he's one of the youngest players in the 2020 draft, but he's already so good. In the OHL last season, was just dominant as a 16-year-old. With Sudbury, while they are a good team, Byfield was a big reason because of that. Offensively, he is so gifted, and is the best center prospect in the draft right now. While Lundell is pretty close, Byfield, points-wise, and at his age, is just way too impressive to neglect right now. Getting into my best prospect for the 2020 NHL draft, it should be obvious, but if it isn't, it is Rimouski Oceanic's own Alexis Lafreniere. Left winger, age 17, 6'1", 192 pounds, Canadian-born stud, the best Canadian prospect since Connor McDavid, and in my opinion, the best prospect since Connor McDavid too. Alexis Lafreniere has a ton of weight on his shoulders, but so far has handled all the pressure pretty amazingly. He's been in the QMJHL for the past couple years now, but has, again, put up fantastic numbers. It might not be what it could be. I think there's more in the tank when it comes to Lafreniere, but again, he still will be the first overall pick. I think there will be a little bit of competition for that first overall pick, but not too much by the end of the year. I think Lafreniere will prove himself as the best in the draft, as he's proved in the past couple years too. I also wanted to give 3 honorable mentions to players who just missed my top 15, and again, when it comes to the 2020 draft, it is stacked as anything, so these 3 players are still fantastic. Those players being Rodion Amarov, Antonio Stranges, and Jeremy Poirier. Those 3 guys are just missing my top 15, and it saddens me, especially for Stranges, who is an American-born prospect, which I love to see, but just overall, it shows how good the 2020 draft is. They could have that kind of quality players outside the top 15. And it'll be tons of fun to watch how the whole draft plays out, how the year plays out, and how these prospects play in their respective leagues. It'll be a ton of fun to watch these prospects go and dominate in the next year. But of course, with this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down those comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about my 2020 NHL draft prospects? What do you agree and disagree with? And of course, the huge, gigantic question: who do you see as the best prospect in the draft? And what are your rankings too? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you should click on this card right here to watch my way too early 2021 draft rankings. Trust me, it's worth it. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys didn't enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my rankings, what you agree and disagree with in your rankings too. Share the video with your friends, of course, if you haven't already. Grow the Grav gang as much as possible. I'm Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.